Welcome to the Elite Power Moves podcast, where we unlock the secrets to level up in all areas of life. I'll be interviewing some of the world's top performers in their fields so that you can uncover and learn the strategies that have led to their overall success and apply it to your own life. Keaton, you live with the motto, you can have anything in life if you put your mind to it. How has this mindset shaped your journey from working with diesel trucks to running multi-million-dollar companies?
It's something that I ultimately encompassed when I was really, really young. I realized when I was young, after my father died, I was about 21 years old. And I knew that there was more to life than what my dad had taught me, 9 to 5, work for somebody until you're 65 and then retire. And I just put out into the universe that I wanted to accomplish much more than what the life had given me and what the life had taught me from my dad. So at an early age, I started to build businesses. I've built about 40 plus companies so far in my life. And I realized really, really quickly that the only limiting factor is the limits in which we give ourselves. And that comes from our parents and from our peers and from our teachers. But if we could spend the majority of our life getting rid of the limiting beliefs that we were once given, we could go back to what we were truly meant to do, which is accomplish anything that we put our minds to. And I realized again at a really young age that the less limits I believed I had, the more I actually did. And as I encompassed that from a young age, and I've worked on it, and I still work on it because we all still have limiting beliefs, right? I realized that the less limits I have in my mind, the more I ultimately accomplish in every aspect of my life. And I have stayed so true to progression of getting rid of limiting beliefs that it's literally the number one thing I focus on.
I absolutely love that, Keaton. Like, one of my best tips for someone is always go to bed thinking and envisioning, asking your subconscious what you want, and also wake up in that state, because that's when you're in the trance state, and that's when you're going to create the reality. Like, if you want to buy a red Jeep, you're going to see that everywhere, and it's what we think about is what we create. So I absolutely love that. Keaton, you're dedicated to your wife, Maddie, and 5 daughters. How do you balance being a family man while managing Limitless Society, Dirty Dough, and your other ventures?
So I'll tell you, and this is a really good topic that I get to teach on often. I don't believe in balance. Most people will tell you that if you want to be successful, you've got to essentially go hard at one thing, right? I hate the word balance. What I really like is the word integrate. I have learned to integrate my family and my marriage and my wife and my children into ultimately everything that I'm doing. I don't have time dedicated just to business and time dedicated just to family. I integrate as much as I possibly can. Right now in my life, I run multiple businesses. I run coaching programs. I speak all over the world. And most of the time, you're going to see me with my family. I bring them with me. I integrate them into everything that I do. My children get to hear and learn from me, and they ultimately get integrated into the life that I'm living. And if I can understand the principle of integration rather than balance, I'm not trying to juggle things all over the place. I'm just integrating things all together. I've got an event coming up at my house in 2 weeks, and it's a marriage mastermind, and it's going to be with my wife, where I get to have her on stage with me and integrate her wonderful knowledge into how we built our beautiful marriage. But everything I do is about integration and not balance. And as soon as you understand that you can let go of juggling balance and just begin to integrate things from your family to your marriage to your business, you can ultimately become successful across the board. I think it's a really, really big excuse that most people use when they say, hey, if you want to be great at something, you have to go all in on that and do nothing else. And there's no balance in life. You have to go hard on one thing. And I disagree with that. I ultimately think if you can learn the principle of integration rather than juggling balance, you ultimately can have everything you want to have.
Absolutely love that. And it really gels with me as well. Having 3 children and my partner, obviously working from home and running multiple businesses, like my family's involved in what I do, it's something that my daughter's getting involved in and learning from. And I said to my stepdaughter, it's really not what you earn, it's what you learn in life. And if your kids can grow up and learn from you, then they're going to grow up and, obviously pass on that domino to the next generation.
Absolutely.
Keaton, as you know, we're all dominoes in our generational train. What is your top tip for a man ready to stand up and go to war and pay the price so his kids don't have to?
You don't ultimately you have to come to a decision. Are you willing to be the one in your generations of time to ultimately change your generations all the way down? Everybody and every human is handed a specific deck of cards. It's your choice to ultimately hand that same deck or a better deck down to your children. But you have to make the decision that you will no longer be the one that pushes forward all the generational trauma and issues and problems that you were given, and that the buck stops here. One of the most powerful things I think that a human being, a man specifically, can hear is what you don't accomplish, what you don't beat, what you don't ultimately win, you will pass down to your children. Your addictions that you cannot overcome, you will pass to them. The problems and the weaknesses that you cannot beat and prevail over, you will pass to them. All of your weaknesses and your failures and the traumas that you don't work through, you ultimately will pass to your children. I do not know if there is a greater why for a man to understand that if you don't beat it, you will give it to them to have to beat. And I don't know, again, something more powerful than to think about all of my weaknesses and my failures and my pains and my struggles. If I love my children the way that I love them, why would I want to pass that down to them? So then I should become a savage in beating the things that were given to me and passing on only the good things that I have built with my time here on earth. I hope to give to my children much more than I gave to my father gave to me, and much more than his father gave to him. I hope my grandchildren are even better than my children, because understanding this principle allows you and unlocks you the new mindset to say, the buck stops with me. It stops here and now. And I choose a different life for me and for my children. And I wish ultimately to give them a new platform to build success and happiness and peace on that I was not given. So I decide, number one, to be a leader and to be the one to change my generations. And then I must go to work on myself, work on my weaknesses, work on my addictions, work on my failures. And when I understand why, when the why is that powerful, the how doesn't matter.
Brother, I absolutely love your energy. And like, I like to look at it from an Australian point of view. Like, my grandfather come back from war, World War II, and he told my dad that you got to tough it out. You got to grind. You got to not ask for help, you know? And this leads into a life of unfulfillment. And it all comes down to, when you want to create a legacy, it comes down to passing on generational health, because we're all standing in the role of that domino, and it takes a man to take off that armor and put down the sword and be vulnerable and work on his own insecurities and his own issues before he passes it on to his kids. And it's something that a great man does, and that's why I absolutely love you, brother. um Keaton, as a fitness trainer and reality TV presenter from Diesel Brothers, what role has physical discipline played in your success across different industries?
Ultimately, I believe that the greatest thing a man or a woman can work on is their health. And finding discipline is really the common denominator to that success. I've never been to a gym and asked a fat person, do you know what you're doing? And they didn't have an answer, right? Yeah, I know I need to eat right. I know I need to exercise. I know I need to drink water. The only difference is the discipline that it takes to stick to the things that you know you're supposed to do. And health is at the very top of the list of priorities in anything that you do. I do not trust a man who doesn't take care of his health, because if you don't take care of your health, you're not taking care of other things. So for me, in all of my successes, it has come down to my desire to become healthy and to perform at my highest level. I cannot build what I wish to build when I am not at my peak performance. And health is literally the factor and the differentiating factor to that. Ultimately, and I have this conversation all the time, there's so many things you can focus on in your life. But if you don't focus on the most important, at some point in your life, it will become the most important. When you don't take care of your health down the road, guess what? Nothing else gets taken care of, because your health will come and will stop you of doing anything you want to do. And knowing that, In the beginning of my life, I watched my father die from a sickness that he ultimately could have beaten if he would have focused on his health. I made the deciding factor that I was not going to allow my health to dictate my life and my choices and my success. And I will tell you this, and I think this is really cool. Those people who find discipline in health find discipline in all other places. It's a really simple factor for people to understand that the only difference between you now and where you want to be in any aspect, money, family, fortune, anything, is the discipline that it takes to get there. And you're only a discipline away from being there. To get into really good shape, it's discipline to eat right and work out and exercise. It's not some secret. There's no crazy secrets to success of life. It's simple disciplines. And so I've learned in my health that being disciplined has allotted me the health that I now have. And that discipline is what I carry over into every single aspect of my life.
Brother, I love that. I feel like building like an empire without health is like building a house on sand. Eventually it's going to sink and it's going to crumble. And like my motto is, and my formula is, discipline increases self-worth. When you multiply that by health and habits, it increases your energy. And when we have an increased energy, then we have an increased time output, which is our most valuable resource. And if we're going to turn up to be the best leader, the best husband, the best father without good health, then people are going to see that in us, and
Absolutely.
vibrate off us. So we're building up a solid spiritual background and a spiritual mindset and health in all areas. Then that echoes in all areas of life. And like you said, most people know what to do, but they lack making those powerful decisions to do it.
Yeah. And the discipline to actually do it. You talk about self-worth. The number one piece to self-worth is self-love. And the greatest form of self-love is discipline. That's the greatest form of self-love.
Yeah.
So if I wish to build my self-worth, I must build my self-love. And the only way to do that is the discipline to do what I say I'm going to do. That's how I show myself that I love myself, through discipline. And it's that simple.
100%, brother. Keaton, you're a man of faith and also a motivational speaker. How does your faith and family values influence the way you approach business and life?
I believe that a man without an ethos is not a true leader and will never truly step into his true form of who he is. Knowing your ethos is ultimately knowing what your core beliefs are. Your ethos is a guiding belief. If you do not know where you stand with God and who he is, you cannot find that core ethos. You can't do it. One of the greatest things that I teach people, because I mentor a lot of people one-on-one, is getting them to understand you must first find your ethos. And the only way to do that is to stand and find where you stand with God. So for me, my core value and my core belief is an actual really simple one. I believe in a God. I believe he's my father, and that means that I'm his son and that I'm heir to him. And that means there's no limits. There is limited in my life if I'm heir to a God, and I build my businesses and my family and all of my teachings based on that simple principle that God is my father and I'm his son. And if I'm heir to him, there is nothing that I cannot do. And it sets into motion my goals and my dreams and the things that I want to accomplish. And they're usually very big because I know I can accomplish them because of my core belief in who I am.
Keaton, I believe that people are put on earth to be warriors for God, and I think that you're one of those warriors. As I seen your post about actually giving out your funds to North Carolina, I mean, that is a man of faith. That is a man that is contributing and giving to the world, and I absolutely love being around men like you. Keaton, you're known for coaching on creation, building and improving businesses. What's one key lesson you've learned from helping others grow their businesses that you apply in your own?
So one of the most important factors that I teach when I teach business owners, I mentor lots and lots of business owners. If you wish to build your business, you must first understand you have to build your marriage. How you do one thing is how you do everything. When I get on calls with people and I mentor them and they always come to me to make more money and build their business, one of the first questions I ask them is, how is your marriage? And most of the time they're taken off guard because they're thinking, well, we're going to talk business. But what they don't understand is that I can simply identify a human being and what he's doing and how he's doing it based on his relationship with his spouse. You know, I say this often. I don't do partnerships with people who cheat on their wives. I won't, because if you'll cheat on her, you'll cheat on me. I don't want partnerships in businesses of people who are lacking in their marriage, because you're going to lack in our partnership. You're going to lack as a leader. The greatest thing that you could possibly do on this planet is to build with you, your spouse, and your relationship. And the greater that you build it, the better you can build everything else. As human beings, we only have so much space in our head. If that space is taken up with the problems and the chaos of our marriage, we can never truly put that energy into whatever it is we're trying to build. If I'm a salesman in my business and I'm fighting with my spouse, I'm thinking about the fight rather than how I'm going to sell this person. If I'm a leader in my business and I have issues at home, I cannot fully put my energy into leading that business. So for me, knowing that, I identify that and I focus on what is most important, which is my marriage. And in doing that, everything ultimately becomes what I want it to become.
Brother, I absolutely love that, Keaton, because after interviewing hundreds of $15 to $100 million men, that is the most common thing they have, is they have a strong relationship with their partner. And like you said at the start of the podcast, it is the foundation. It's like having that jar and stuffing it with sand and not putting the big rocks in. Like, you got to put the big rocks in and start with that foundation. So I absolutely love that. Keaton, all great men I know climb the mountain fighting the lion solo, and when they're at the top, they reach out to pull others up. I find they use the words like contribute more than success and achieve. How has helping people along the way made you the man you are today?
I genuinely believe, again, and this goes back to my core beliefs, we were put on this planet to first help ourselves and then help other people. And as soon as I understand that concept, then I understand that the more people that I help, the more that I help myself. And the more people I make successful, the more successful I become. And so instead of the idea of getting to the top of the mountain and pulling people up, I would rather start at the base of the mountain and drag people up that mountain with me. So that as I drag them, I drag myself, and I find purpose in the climb. The greatest principle that a man can understand is, as soon as you have gotten to a place of helping yourself, it's time to help other people in anything, right? I don't want just a good marriage. I want men and women around me to have good marriages. I don't want to make just a lot of money. I want my friends and my family to make a lot of money. I don't want to just personally develop and grow myself and find progression with myself. I want all those around me to do the same. And I have found that because God has called me to ultimately help people, the more people I help, the more He blesses me. And that's my philosophy. So instead of standing at the top saying, I'm here to help you, I'll walk down that mountain and I'll drag you up there with me. And in doing so, I ultimately get to where I want to be.
Keaton, I absolutely love that. And it's the law of reciprocity. Like, we're always helping our fellow man. And I like to say, like, life is like that summit, the subconscious mind summit. Like, some people are right at the bottom and they're going to fall and they're going to stumble because life is not easy, you know. But I always say to people, you've always got to fall forward with your hand up, and someone there will be there to reach out and grab you along the way.
Absolutely.
Keaton, thank you so much for joining us on the Elite Power Moves podcast. I really appreciate your energy. You're an absolutely phenomenal man. And I look forward to following you and everything that you're doing in the world. And absolutely can say, man, I've got a bit of a man crush for sure. Like, you're an absolute date. So thank you so much for.
Well, I appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you for having me on, man. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to spend some time with you.
Thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you found the discussion useful. Our goal is to positively impact the well-being of 1 million people's lives just like you by sharing the experience and knowledge of some of the world's top performers. So you don't miss out on any key strategies to help you succeed, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. And if you think you may know someone that would benefit from this episode, join us in our mission of impacting 1 million lives and share it with your friends.